rice is not your enemy. So I've been hearing a lot, especially when people haven't seen me in a few months. Like, Nigel, you've lost a ton of weight, which is true. I've lost like 30 kilos since June or July. I was 110 at my heaviest, and I'm around 81, 82 kilos right now. And a lot of the most common thing I hear from people is like, did you not eat rice? And I'm always puzzled because rice is not the enemy, right? Carbs are not the enemy. When you, like, the way I see it, right? Especially as a player, you need energy, you need carbs, right? Carbs is your friend when it comes to fuel, right? Michael Phelps was eating, I think, 7,000 calories a day, and he was crushing the Olympic gold medals, right? So carbs is not the problem, fats is not the problem. You need to think of, or the way I think of it rather, is like your daily calories is like a budget. And as long as you stay in your budget, you're gonna lose weight, especially if you walk a lot and exercise as well. And you can look this up. There have been people that have lost weight on just Twinkies, right? There's the famous Twinkie diet where some, I think, professor for how many months, like, only ate Twinkies and other processed foods, and everything improved. His weight like got lowered. He lost weight. His LDL markers improved. His cholesterol improved. Right, everything improved because at the end of the day, your body does not really care. And this is oversimplification. It does care, but it doesn't really care what the calories are, as long as it's underneath your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, right? Your daily caloric budget, right? And that's why it's called a deficit, right? Because you are using more calories than you are intaking. So where does the deficit come from, right? It comes from your fat reserves, right? Sometimes muscle if you don't eat enough protein, which is why it is important to have a good diet while you are on a diet. Sorry, a good blend of foods while you are on a diet. But if your only goal was to just lose weight, you can literally eat anything and you're gonna lose weight. The number on the scale will go down over time as long as you are under your daily calorie total. And there are some people that say, well, caloric deficit doesn't work for me. I guarantee you, you are not tracking your calories like properly or accurately. I believe there's some studies out there that say like 50 or 60% of people like over or underestimate their calories. Like, you hear it all the time. If you're new to dieting and you're new to estimating calories, bring a food scale with you everywhere you go, or use an app like Cal AI, not sponsored, but Cal AI basically lets you take pictures of your food and it estimates your calories, and it's much better than you guessing. But yeah, accurately track your calories for like 2 or 3 weeks and you'll see like how much calories you were eating that you didn't think, right? And it's usually issues like with sauce, with oils, the sneaky calories that come from like fats that usually will make you over or underestimate your calories. But yeah, again, right, like back to the main point, because this is a bit of a rant. Rice is not the enemy, right? And people that say, well, I lost a ton of weight and all I did was I stopped eating rice. The thing is, if you stop eating rice, all you're doing is you're removing that calories from your budget. And that, again, is just a caloric deficit. I mean, all diets are just one way or another a caloric deficit, right? The keto diet, you're just removing calories in one way. Paleo, going vegan, going carnivore, right? All you're doing is you are removing calories in one way or another, and you're getting underneath that budget and you're losing weight, right? The problem with like carnivore or vegan or whatever is if you focus too much on one food group or another, you might be missing micronutrients or macronutrients or vitamins or minerals or whatever. So as always, it's best to have a varied diet. We are omnivores anyways, right? So eat your fruits, eat your vegetables, eat whatever, right? But yeah, so like if you are one of those people that lost a ton of weight by not eating rice, that probably means you were eating way too much rice in the first place. And when you removed it, you were removing a lot of calories from your daily intake. Because it's very easy to eat a lot of calories rice-wise. Because like 1 cup of rice is I think 200 calories cooked, by the way, 200, 250 calories. And most people can eat, 2, 3, 4 cups of rice if they really push themselves to. And then on top of that, you have your ulam, you have your, your sauces, whatever. And that's already 1,000 plus calories just on rice. So I understand why people think, just not eating rice is a solution. And it's just because you're not controlling how much carbs you're taking in. You're just not watching it. And it's very easy to overeat on carbs like bread, rice, whatever. But they inherently are not the enemy. And that's something that, especially if you're like a badminton player or an athlete of any sport like me, you can't just cut out carbs. Like you will become faint or maghihilo ka, especially on court. There are some times earlier on when I was newer to dieting, like when I was like 20, 21, where I tried the no carbs thing, and there would be like days where I would get on court, I'd play for 10 minutes and I'd get very weak. And I knew it's because my blood sugar was low, and I'd have to stop, and then I would have to eat. And usually you would overeat because your body's trying to compensate. So it's best to just eat them controlled, especially if you are still trying to perform at a somewhat high level, and you're playing sports that require lots of explosive energy, right? So it's a lot more different because for me, I noticed that when you are playing like steady state cardio sports, like maybe cycling or jogging or whatever, I feel like I can get away with a bit less carbs. But when I'm playing more like explosive start-stop sports like badminton is, right, I really need to get those carbs in, and I need to time them properly. So I need to have carbs before I play. You can't just not eat them unless you don't want to play badminton and play it well. So yeah. The last thing I'm gonna say is that there are typically like two trains of thought when it comes to dieting. There is the assumption where as long as you stay under your caloric count, it doesn't really matter what you eat, right? And then there is another train of thought where you need to hit all your macros, right? You need to have this many grams of protein, this many grams of carbs, this many grams of fat a day. And so obviously that's more ideal, but it's very exhausting and it's hard to consistently achieve on a daily basis. And that's the most important thing, because a diet is truly like a lifestyle, right? Because if I stop doing all the things that I did to get to where I am now, right? If I stopped walking 10,000 steps a day, if I stopped eating in a controlled way, and if I stopped like weightlifting, if I stopped eating my protein, the weight that I lost will slowly come back, right? So you need to think of a way that you can personally maintain a healthier change in the way you live, right? If you can't maintain 10K steps a day, but you can maintain 8K steps a day, that's great, right? If you can only go 1 week without ice cream, but then if you go 2 weeks without ice cream, you're gonna eat a whole tub of ice cream, then treat yourself to like a little scoop of ice cream every week, right? You need to still enjoy life, because otherwise you are going to like commit and be super rigid for 2 months max, and then you're gonna hate yourself, and then you're gonna just binge on all the foods that you labeled as bad, in which in fact they're not, right? So long rant aside, I don't know if any of this is helpful. I think I've gotten super far away from the main topic of the video, which was there is no such thing as an inherently bad food. You just have to watch what you eat, especially in the beginning. And then once you kind of have a good estimate, like, okay, this is this many calories, this is how many calories I can eat per day, right? I've had a rather active day today. I could probably eat a bit more, a bit less, whatever. Then you can be a bit more chill. But yeah, hope this was helpful. Bye.